Our guest today, Donna Allegra, serves as an advisory and a design director for Argyle. Living in Manhattan, Donna has been in the proxy design business for nearly 10 years, so she really knows her stuff. I'm Brock Romanak today on Zippy Point. Compensation, what we do, what we don't do, Donna. This is such an important piece of disclosure that, of course, is not required, but you're making it easy for the proxy advisors, for the institutional investors to check off their list that know this company is not engaged in the nefarious practices that they don't want them to be when it comes to executive pay. What are you going to show us today?
I'm going to show you a few things, that's for sure. But what we do and what we don't do, you know, it's the at-a-glance overview for the compensation program. And so the proxy advisors can, like you said, they can just tick the boxes to confirm that everybody is adhering to best practices. You know, we don't want to miss that you don't have tax gross ups, or that, you know, you do pay for performance. That, you know, is the at-a-glance checklist. That being the case, location is important, and many times you will find what we do and don't do in the proxy summary, and you'll see it later in the proxy. We're from the school that say it once and say it well, and you know, other companies think different. But I want to show you, you know, some of what companies have and the way they present it, and I'm going to share my screen with you. Let's start with Walgreens. You know, we look at their list of, we do have this practice, we do not have this practice. Everything is very clearly stated, okay? There are punchy lines of, you know, performance and share awards have a 3-year performance period to promote retention. Everything is very succinct, and this is found in their proxy statement. This can be found in their proxy summary. As we go through the proxy, you'll see this again in their compensation program best practices. Again, it's the same list of, we do have this practice, we do not have this practice. But again, you're giving the investor an overview of quick snapshot. Here it is, excessive purposes. We see what they're doing, we see what they're not doing. BlackRock does a great job of this as well. BlackRock, what we do, what we don't do. And everything is our commitment to designing an executive compensation program that is consistent with responsible financial and risk management. So we go through the list here in the proxy summary, and then we see it again in their compensation. They're showing us, it's a little bit more detail within the what we do and don't do, what's in the compensation section. And again, as you go through the proxy, you'll see how they will touch upon all of these issues. But again, it's the checklist that we're giving them. It's the cheat sheet. And all companies do it differently. When we look at the AllState proxy, Dan and Deborah Leanne have really reduced the volume of the proxy summary. They have more of a punchy, short voting summary, which reduces the overall volume of the proxy and eliminates duplication, easier to read. And when we're in the compensation section, we see here AllState's executive compensation principles and really powerful sentences. We pay for performance with a supporting statement. The majority of our CEOs in NEO's compensation opportunity is at risk and based on measurable performance goals. We establish a strong link between performance measures and strategic objectives, again with a supporting statement. And then we move into the punch list, if you will, what we do and what we do not do. It's there for the viewer. If I show you now HP, what they do, HP does things a little bit differently, and Poonam has worked to create an overview here of the pay for performance and corporate governance together in one, but also he's giving you an explanation, or HP is providing an explanation for what they do. And it's very clear what they do not do, but there's an explanation that supports all of their statements. And again, though, everything is contained in one space. And the same here when we look here at ConocoPhillips. This is a really thoughtful layout that you see here by Shannon and Whitney. Again, what we do and there's an explanation for all of the things that they do. There's an explanation for all of the things that they do not do. And it really is just, it's a nice, attractive layout. We come to the Exelon proxy, and again, compensation, governance, and oversight. What we do, we do not do. And this is really important that people are looking at this and understanding it is clearly laid out so the information is before you of what they are doing. And, you know, I think what's really a closing thought on some of what we do and do not do and why it's there is that, you know, we're putting the conclusion first. You know, often in proxies, it's a commercial document and we want it to be punchy and to the point. We want to bring the conclusion to the forefront. And so if I put on my advisory hat, if I'm drafting disclosures, you know, I want to be persuasive. And if I want to be persuasive, you know, I've got to ask myself, how quickly can readers get to the conclusion when they're reviewing that document? And I think that's what's most important. And this might also go back a little bit to, you know, what type of reader is reviewing this proxy? Is it that person? Is it the investor that is reading it cover to cover? Is it the investor who's glancing over some sections but focusing in on the CD&A? Or is it just the investor that's reviewing it and just looking through, you know, giving it that skim read? And I think that's really important that the proxy actually conveys or allows for each level of reader to have that kind of access.
So God help those that have to read this cover to cover. Of course, some people do. And it's so much easier these days to read a proxy cover to cover because they are so usable. And the use of graphics and proxy design that made them palatable. In the old days, it would have been much more challenging. But the way companies are using colors these days and the icons indicate check mark, we're doing this, you know, X or a square, we're not doing that. It's really smart the way companies have been approaching something that should have been probably happening earlier than recent times, but we've gotten there. You know, we're here, the promised land. It's great.
Agreed.
Great job, Donna.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brock.